Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of American Odds, the American Gods recap show. Uh, Episode 1 just came out, The Bone Orchard, and I'm going to discuss it. My name is Tom Bennis, and I'm joined with Cal. We haven't figured out his nickname yet, but Cal's joining me. Hello, Cal.
Hello, everybody.
So, I mean, I've been excited to see this forever. I don't know. For someone who hasn't read the books, did you have any anticipation for this show?
I mean, from when you told me it was like a mythology show, I was super excited to hear that. So, like, I love mythology. We've been talking about mythology all the time, trying to get that episode going on Odd Shape panel. But I was super hyped for it. So I just can't wait to get into that aspect of the show and delve right into it and talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been holding out on the mythology episode for OSP for American Gods. So after we do the recap while Kimber is gone, the next OSP will be about mythology. So that's gonna happen. But I think we should get right to it. We only have an hour tonight. Usually, for people who are used to Odd Shape panel, it's about 3 hours. So we're gonna do a quick recap of the show. We're gonna keep an eye on the chat while we're talking, and then once we do finish up the recap, we'll bring in callers to discuss it more in depth. I already wrote something in the chat for book readers. Please keep in mind, don't obviously we don't want to spoil it for everyone or anyone. So just keep it in the scope of the episode. Um, like I'm going to talk about the differences between Technical Boy and Bill Quiz between the books, but I'm not going to go too far.
If
So
you spoil it, I will spoil like Titanic or something for you.
yeah, anything that's not American Gods, we will spoil. So if you're not caught up on Game of Thrones or Lost, one of us will spoil it. Anyway, so I guess we could just get started. And I think the way to get started with anything is the opening title sequence. How did you feel about it?
Oh my god. When I saw it, I was blown away. Like, I was thinking already, like, this could win the Emmy for like the opening sequence. Like I know Dexter's won it before. I think I don't know what won it this past year. It might be Westworld or something. But those like those iconic opening sequence, and obviously Game of Thrones with the building of every region. This had me just like that. Like those sequences, I loved it. And then plus, I was waiting, seeing the different religious aspects. I was like, picking them off and which is which. And then when I finally saw like the Indian cultural one, I was like, oh, there we go, there it is. And just seeing all those different religious aspects and mythology coming through, I was blown away. I loved it.
Well, yeah, the way I said it right when I saw it, with the music because it's a lot of like tribal like beats and stuff like that. At the same time, you have these weird like synthesizers and stuff. The whole intro, everything about it is like the blend of like the mystical and the mechanical. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm.
like the way they made that totem into like a neon sign. So I thought that
Because
was interesting.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you were telling me it's about like old gods versus the new, right? So if they kind of
Yeah,
or incorporating something like that. So I guess you see that like the totem becoming like a neon sign, kind of like seeing both aspects of certain um, religious icons and such like that. They were
yeah.
trying to get that going.
I think it's subtly telling you, and maybe not subtly because it's kind of in your face about it and loud. Um, but it almost because like there's like a an image of the Buddha with prescription pills flying around it. You know what I mean? Definitely two roads to either enlightenment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or transcendence. And I think it's kind of like showing you the not race but like the competition. You know what I mean? Like who like it's just we're going to get more into this as we go through the plot line, but everything is about faith. And when there's more people who have computers that are practicing religion, what is people faith really in? And that's the whole concept of the show, pretty much. Not the whole show, like, but like the main conflict, I want to say.
And that's represented later. We'll see in the episode by somebody, modern day technology, how that affects, you
Yes.
know, society. And we'll see that.
So, and we see a character and we haven't been introduced. I know who he is, but we haven't been introduced to him yet, so I won't say his name. But he is a very historical figure, and he's writing down this like manuscript called Coming to America, and apparently this is going to be a reoccurring theme for every episode.
Mhm.
What did you think about like this little short sequence outside of the main plot?
See, I was confused. I didn't understand what was going on at first. I thought, like, as a person who hasn't read the books, I was like, is this guy writing the story of what's happening? Like, I don't know if I can bring up with the Mahabharata or anything like that. It's like you see the story being written. Like the Mahabharata is an Indian epic and talks about like the mythology of like Indian like religion and stuff like that. And you see Ved Vyas writing, hearing it from God, and like writing it down. Like, so I didn't know if this is what the story is going. I had no idea what the story was about in American Gods or anything. So I thought this is maybe that's what's happening. Like they're him writing the story and carrying on from there, different eras or something. But then I watched the end, and they showed like the producers or something talking about it, and he told us that each episode is going to start out about different gods coming to America or something like that. So that I thought that was very interesting. I don't know who that person is yet. I'm interested to find out. So that's going to be
Yeah,
cool.
well, I mean, I in Coming to America, we can talk about that. That is definitely, um, how Odin came to America. Um, with the taking of the eyes, which was both beautiful, but I mean, a lot of the reason I love this show is, and I've always thought I would because I'm a big fan of Brian Fuller and his work on Hannibal. Um, but the music that goes along with it, it's really good.
Do we
Like
know who does the score to it? Do you know?
I don't I haven't I have to look that up, but it's like when we meet Mr. Wednesday, and again we'll get to this,
Mm-hmm.
but like improvised jazz comes in because that's very much like his character, and they make a lot of good decisions with that. But back to the Vikings coming back, it shows that they landed in a hostile place, and I think this is a good metaphor for how two things. Because I was talking to Kimber about this, and she can weigh in later. But when they walk right onto the grass, like the nice part of the beach, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy gets peppered with a million arrows. Hilarious. Like they do a great
Yeah.
job of balancing brutality and humor in this. And I was seeing it as almost a metaphor of showing how hostile America is and still
Right.
is to outside cultures.
Especially
You know what I
now
mean?
in the times we're living.
And a lot of people are singing praises for American Gods because it's very topical about like the melting pot that is America. Um, Candace is saying she got zero
Yeah.
humor,
I
and the
saw that.
reason, like Kimber said, it almost felt like a tall tale, like when you're like, oh man, I went to this place and I got shot by a
Like,
thousand arrows, but in reality you would only be shot by like
yeah.
five. You know what I mean? But it would seem so intimidating. So it's almost like the way the story is told is like a tall tale. Um, but I mean, who knows? But I really enjoyed that, and I'm interested to see what other gods they're going to introduce because they're obviously because I'm thinking, if we're going to be introduced to Mad Sweeney, who is Irish descent, is that going to be during like the Great Depression, like the immigration, like somebody coming over, like that could be really interesting. So I'm excited to see how they like flesh out the history of the gods, which they weren't able to really do in the like they did, but they weren't able to do such like a spotlight on it.
So the way I saw this was that the way I took what I took from it, because I didn't know anything about the book or like how the show was like going to be laid out or portrayed, was that as soon as I saw it was like Norse mythology starting it out with Odin and stuff, I thought everything, the rest of what followed in the episode, with the modern day, with Shadow Moon, all that would reflect Norse mythology. That's what I thought was going to happen because I wasn't sure what was really happening in the episode yet. Um, Thinking about maybe he died and he became an Inyer, something like the Norse warriors after death they become like
Yeah, the
demigods kind of thing. Yeah, so I wasn't honestly wasn't sure what was going on, but I guess I thought maybe it would just go that way through Norse mythology, and like what I was talking to you about, who I thought Mr. Wednesday was and all that, and how it would go. But if they are switching that week, it could still go that way. But you would know better than I do. But that was just what I was speculating as I saw this opening sequence. I love the opening sequence. I thought it had a good mix of brutality and humor, like you said. And I love like Norse mythology, like reading the Magnus Chase books as well as just knowing a lot, watching Vikings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm excited because Neil Gaiman just wrote his own take on Norse mythology specifically, called Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology. Kimber has promised to get it for my birthday, so I'm not going to buy it until then. No pressure, Kimber. I promise I won't read it. All right, so let's get into the bulk of the show. We right away we meet our protagonist, Shadow Moon. And I didn't really know Ricky Whittle is his name. I didn't really know his
Yes,
before this. I know he's in NCIS, but I didn't watch it.
the 100. He was a big character in the 100. He played Lincoln. He fell in love with Octavia was one of the main characters in the show. He's one of the tribes people. Like what I say about the show 100, it's like Lost for the modern kids. So that's kind of what it is. So
Okay, so that's why I haven't seen
he was a very
100.
popular person on that show. Yeah.
Well, how would you compare? Because I'm out. Like, how is his acting? Is it any different than?
Well, see, in the show, he plays like a tribesman, so he doesn't really talk too much. I mean, he was one of the people who can speak English, so that's how he got to speak to Octavia, the main character. But his acting just like a brute kind of guy, and like girls swooned over him and all that kind of stuff. He's like one of those kind of
It's funny you say that because, and I was talking to Candace, who everyone will meet in a bit if they haven't met her already. We're because she's about halfway through the book, and to be fair, the book's much fresher in her mind than it's in mine. Like I've read the book a few times, but it's been a few years, so I take her word as law.
Mhm.
But she was saying that Shadow is actually a lot more quiet in the book, which is kind of a contrast to how he's portrayed in the show. Which I mean I don't mind because like I was saying, like we don't get the benefit of living in Shadow's head like we do in the book. Um, but I mean, speaking of Shadow's head, all right, so we're in prison, and right away, like we're already told the ending of this episode. You know what I mean? Like the way that he's talking to his cellmate.
Mhm.
Um, they even talk about. They specifically say like there's imagery of a noose that's preceded by gallows. Oh, what was this phrase? It was like gallows debt or gallows blood, gallows debt or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but like they're talking about hanging like right when they start, and I think that's really interesting because what this show does really well is foreshadow.
Right. And the tree too, right? They kept showing the tree over and over, like the with the hands and all that. Because I mean, later on you see how he's grabbed by several people, and I don't know if that's alluding to that or not, but there was a lot of that imagery in the beginning or middle towards.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. There was a tree. There was like a random tied up note, rope. One guy went like this to him on his way out. And yeah, but I mean, when we meet him, he's about to get out of jail.
5 days away, right?
He's 5 days away. He was sentenced to 6 years for assault and battery, and he got a reduced sentence to 3. He's getting out in 5 days. So he's trying to keep clear head. Anybody who's trying to get out of jail is gonna
Yeah.
be good. And he calls his wife Laura Moon, who's played by Emily Browning
Yep.
from Sucker Punch and something else I don't really
Sleeping
know.
Beauty
Okay.
or Stealing Beauty, Stealing Beauty, something where she's sleeping and supposed to. Yeah, I think it's like Stealing Beauty or Sleeping Beauty, something like that.
Well, she's sleeping in this too
Yeah.
because
She's in the
after
bed.
yeah, we find out she dies in a car accident right before Shadow gets out, and he's able to get out early. Um, which is like the overwhelming dread that Shadow has is crazy before it happens. Oh, Candace also said series of unfortunate events.
Okay.
Drowning is from, but
Eric is mentioning the
yeah,
blood. The blood is a lot like Spartacus. If you ever watched Spartacus, the blood is a lot like that. And Spartacus is also on Starz, so
yeah, and we watched a feature. They didn't use CGI for any of that blood. That was
right.
like thrown
Yep.
like yeah, and Kimber makes a good point too. A lot of the imagery reminds me of the Fountain, which is an amazing movie that I don't think enough people give credit. But it's really good, and I love it. And the score is amazing too. And I keep coming back to the score, but I feel like music's really important for like fantastical shows.
Let's see if I can look up
Um,
who did the music.
it's a good idea. Also, for anyone in the chat, there's a link to a poll on the top, so you can vote for who your favorite character that you met on this episode. Out of 4, we weren't able to put every character on there, but go ahead and go check that, and we'll read it at the end of the episode. I think when Kimber comes on, she's gonna read off her poll. Um, all right, so because he's let out early, which I didn't realize that once you get out of prison, you automatically like have like a credit card and all like a nice suit and stuff. Like he's set up pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, well, I guess whatever he went in with, right? So that means he probably had a pretty decent life before going
yeah, we
in.
don't.
So
They don't talk about because in the books, I like he's supposed to be working at Robbie's gym, I believe. Like, and that's why he's going to be able to get hired there. I was talking to Kimber. I figured he should just apply to Baskin Robbins and just see how that works out. Um, but yeah, so I don't know how. And Candace made a good point to me too earlier, talking. Laura is very young. Like she's 25. Like in the obit, she's 25 and Robbie's 36. So if Robbie is Shadow's friend, you'd assume Shadow's about 35ish.
right.
I mean, so he's in there for 3 years, so that's 22. Like, so it's kind of like I don't know exactly how they're set up in the show. Regardless, it's not the life he's going to be going back to at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the airport, and of course, he shows up a few days early with a plane ticket, and
Wait,
he
can I ask you
remembers.
something about this? Why
Yeah,
was he in prison somewhere like so that far away from his home? Like, what was it? Did he do a crime in a state not where he lived? That's why he was like, what was the reason that he had to fly back home as opposed to being incarcerated where he lived?
well, I mean, for example, one of the state prisons in New York is Sing Sing, and that's in the city.
Right.
But for somebody, New York is so big that if you live in Albany, you know what I mean, you're gonna probably take a plane back or a train, um,
Oh, yeah, I guess.
and hope you have a valid license to get a car.
Wait, where does this take
Um,
place? This show? Does it say?
well, the thing is, it's like a road trip, so I don't exactly remember where it starts. I don't remember where Eagle Point is. Candace, do you remember where Eagle Point is? Um, and Candace didn't like the fountain. Man, I'm getting sad.
While we have this little break, Brian Reitzel did the music for the show, or at least the first episode. He did music for things such as Lost in Translation and Stranger Than Fiction, Hannibal as well.
Okay, I really like Stranger Than Fiction
Yeah,
and Lost in Translation. Those are good movies.
and Hannibal, American Werewolf in Paris, stuff like that. A lot.
All right, so he's in the airport and he remembers some helpful advice. And this is interesting the way they do this because he sees his
Cellmate?
cellmate there, and I think this is a good way that they kind of pepper like his advice because like when they talk in the book, he pretty much like just keeps peppering him with all these like and don't do this and remember so and blah blah blah. And in this, it's kind of more spaced out to when those events occur.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's an interesting way to do it. And I didn't picture his cellmate looking exactly like he did, but I like the guy who's playing him. It's an interesting. I like his laugh. um, but all right, so he's at the airport finally when he gets a ticket for the next day, and he sees a senile old man trying to get into first class, and we already know something's up.
Right.
Um, like Kimber literally looked at me and was like, "This is a con, right?" And I'm like,
Yep.
"Yeah." So he gets on and Shadow gets on, and they finally meet in first class. And I think this is where like they put it in one of like the features, which I thought was smart. His conversation about what makes a plane fly or what keeps it in the air. Is it Newton or is it faith? I think that's like a really good way to look at things in
Yep.
general. So it's cool, and it's also an interesting like I was thinking about it. You know how like everyone has like a moment of doubt during turbulence.
Yeah.
Is the
Is it
moment
gonna go
is the
down?
moment yeah, is the moment of doubt and the drop in faith causing the turbulence, or is it the actual sign? Like it's cool because it opens up these other like side conversations.
Kimber saying she knows who this helmet is, and I know you were saying that to
Yeah,
me in on the Twitter too. I don't want to know,
yeah,
but yeah,
they do. Don't read if you don't want to know who he is. They do list his name in the credits, and it's not the cleverest name. Um, like it's not letter for letter what it is, but phonetically when you say it out loud, it's
yeah.
exactly what it is.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna read it. I'm not gonna look up the credits. I mean,
Don't do it. Don't just when the credits
yeah.
go, skip it to the fun part at the end. I liked that little bit they had tagged on, like they do for Game of Thrones. I thought that was smart.
Mm.
All right, so
I just
we
want to say that
talked about
about Ian
that.
McShane too. He's a phenomenal actor. We say it we said on Game of Thrones and everything, but you see how like the gamut of like roles he plays from being like Al Swearingen on Deadwood to the Septon on our brother was the brother Ray on Game of Thrones, and now this guy on American Gods. Just like the range, man, it's phenomenal. He's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say too. Like Ian McShane, I'm familiar with his work, but some of these, like I know I didn't really watch Orange Is the New Black, and we'll talk more about Matt
Yeah,
Sweeney in a bit.
porn stash.
But yeah, he
Yeah,
was acting his ass off in this
yeah.
episode, and we'll talk about that some more. But I'm really impressed with the caliber of acting so far. I haven't like thought anyone's phoned it in at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, they meet. Wednesday offers him a job. He introduces himself as Wednesday, um, and of course he's mysterious but on the nose. And Shadow even says it later. He's like, "You're personal," and I don't like it, like because he reads you, um, and that's a good aspect for any con man to have, is to be able to read people. And so while he falls asleep, both of them do in first class, and we go and we meet, and they're already talking about her in the chat. We meet Bilquis,
Yeah.
who's a little bit different than in the books. Here we see that she's using Tinder to set up a date. What did you think about this overall scene?
I had no idea where the show was going when this happened. I was like, "What is going on?" Like, obviously, they're interesting new character, but like, how does this connect to Shadow? What does this have to do with anything? Like, what god are they trying to portray here, or whatever? Like, I was not sure what was going on. And then when that scene happened, and what eventually happened towards in that scene, I was like, "Okay, this person has significance in it," and hopefully I'll find out who it is in a while. But I honestly I thought this was just some like I had no idea where the show was going when this happened. I was so confused.
Well, in the books, they do pepper in these little stories from the perspectives of other deities, just to kind of expand the world. And in the book, she only has this like one chapter. That's it. But they've already said that she's gonna pop back up in the show, just to have a concrete cast. And the difference is, and what I liked about it is it really shows you how desperate these deities, these old gods are, because she's using Tinder to get one worshiper. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a whole ceremony there. He lights
So
the candle.
so I feel like to bring up another show, and Candace might love this, is in Angel when you had Jasmine and how
Yeah,
she needed to worship. Is that kind of like is that what it is kind of like going, or is that what it's like?
yeah. I think Jasmine ran on faith, but it was weird
Yeah.
because her blood made everyone think she was like. I'm trying to remember her
No, no.
correctly.
If she got sprayed with her blood, then you'd see the real her.
Yeah. I don't know. I was too distracted by Connor being an idiot that entire season to really remember what was going on. Like they just named her Jasmine because a flower smelled like jasmine nearby or something. I don't remember. But yeah, no, it's like that. It's like if you don't believe in it, what gives it its strength? You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is her, desperate. Like she's even saying to him, like, "I'm spent. Like, are
Yeah.
you sure you like me?" Like she has her doubts about herself, and it just in the book, she is a prostitute, and she's doing the same thing. She's getting the worshippers, but she's getting money for it. And I like the change because it kind of takes a little new twist to it. Because they have to adapt. This book came out in 2006, and technology has come a long
Right.
way in 10 years. Um, so I think it makes her less predatory and like more sympathetic because and the guy was like there he wasn't an asshole or anything. Like the guy was fine.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, we don't have to do this tonight." He was very nice. Um, so it sucks for him, but at the same time, he was consenting. I guess
Yeah.
he said, "Take it all." Um, but yeah, so I'm excited to see her again, and we'll talk more about because I'm sure I think Candace wants to talk about Bilquist. Um, but we're gonna have some callers in once we get. Oh, we should get moving, so we have some time for some
Quick
callers.
question though. So she in the book you said she was only in one chapter in the entire book,
Yeah, yeah.
and you
I
get her
don't
whole
know.
story in one chapter.
Yeah, they expanded her, and in this series because Neil Gaiman likes to go and like revisit stories and will add some things. And there are some parts from some short stories that take place in this universe that are going to be adapted into the series. Like they're going to pull some characters. Um, like I don't want to say specifically
Yeah.
who, but they're going to be in there, and I don't remember them being in the book, but and from what I read, they weren't in the original book, but I don't ever know when I read the original book. You know what I mean? Because they've been reprinted so many times. But what was interesting was because when I read this book, I pictured Shadow as a brown guy, like but more like Native American,
Uh huh.
just because of the name Shadow Moon.
Shadow Moon. Yeah.
Um, and so I was surprised when they cast him as a black man. He's a fantastic actor, and I love what he's doing. But I was looking at old like photos of the books, like the old prints of the books, and one of the first prints, it's obvious that Shadow's a black dude. So that's crazy. That it's definitely I feel like Kimber was saying too. It's more impactful. You know, what I mean, especially with some of the imagery. Um, but I love the casting, and I think Candace, and she'll probably bring up more about Bilquist. Like the casting for Bilquist too was a little surprising, um, especially because, and we'll talk about it more. But she's a biblical figure, and
Right.
unfortunately, there's not like a large like cast of brown people in the Bible, even though there should be.
Yep.
I guess it depends who's reading it. Oh man, this Gator bar, that was so cool. The lighting and stuff.
Yes. You know what? Well, when I was we start describing the scene, and then well, I'll get into what I had to say about this.
Oh well, he comes in after driving for a while. He's looking for something to eat, and he works out a deal with the waitress. He won't make a mess, for a burger, and then he runs into Wednesday, who breaks the news to him that Robbie is also dead. So he finds out he definitely doesn't have a job. Makes a bet with uh, Wednesday, even though Shadow rigs the toss. Wednesday still wins the bet because a rigged game is the easiest to beat, he says. And during all this, we meet Mad Sweeney, and important, we see that Shadow binds the agreement with mead, which is the alcohol of the gods.
Yep.
Um, During this time, we meet Matt Sweeney, who is played by Pornstash, who again act his ass off. I loved the coin tricks; looked
Coin
really
tricks
good.
is amazing.
The coin tricks looked really good. Um, and I mean, the fight I thought was great. I know that fight tells you everything you need to know about both those characters. You know
Like
what I mean?
when I first saw it, and you told me like I mean I knew it was an Irish supposed to be like an Irish character, but like for some reason I just thought I was thinking Loki because like I said earlier, I thought this whole thing was like a Norse
Yeah.
mythology like through the whole episode. So I thought one who I told you who I thought Mr. Wednesday was, and then I thought this guy would be Loki because like all the tricks he was doing and Loki being a trickster and all that. That's why I thought this guy would be Loki. But then obviously he was Irish, so I didn't know how it would work out like that. But then when you finally told me who he was, yeah, that fight scene was great. It's like a barroom brawl, kind of like the stereotype of like Irish drinking a lot and fighting and all that. That was like played through a god and like it was pretty cool. I like how it was done. It was very well done.
Yeah, and I want to dip a bit more into like he calls himself a leprechaun, and I don't think he's giving
Yeah,
himself enough credit because Mad Sweeney is an actual folk hero, or folk legend, not necessarily a deity. but something that enough people believed in. Um, so that's interesting. Um, so he agrees, and Odin and oh my god. So they go and they get to Eagle Point. And did we ever figure out where Eagle Point was? No, that's fine. I was just hoping somebody figured it out.
Just skip over what he just said.
Yeah,
We'll edit that out.
it's fine. No, don't even talk about it. So we get to the
Indiana, Candace says.
the funeral, and oh my god, that's funny. Yeah, Kimber says that the mead tastes like drunk diabetic's piss. That's what Mad Sweeney said about it. The lines are great.
Yeah.
So
he gets his own car, starts driving away, gets to the next scene. He is it the funeral? Is that the next scene?
Funeral,
yeah.
Yep, funeral's scene, and Robbie's wife, Audrey, I think is her name.
Yes, Audrey.
Oh my god, she's really good at acting. Like,
yes.
She's obviously messed up, and we find out why because the circumstances in which the bodies were found in the car crash. That
she put that spot on, like a really pissed off like widow, I should say. But like, exactly, she did that. That's how I expected to be.
She like, I don't do well with like cringe in like shows. Like I don't like being set up to feel like uncomfortable. But like her, like you could just feel like her emotions just pouring out. Like not only did she feel betrayed by like her husband, but by her best friend. Like that's like, what does that say about her? That like her judgment in people. You know what I mean? Like it's
sorry. Robbie and Shadow are best friends, and then Audrey and Shadow's wife. I forgot Shadow's wife's name. Are best friends as well.
Yes, they're like a best friends couple.
Yeah. Okay.
Deal. Kimber's saying cringe forever because she loves to make me feel uncomfortable by putting on shows that will make me uncomfortable. I don't hate The Office, and that's because it's balanced by like
Laura.
good humor and like good emotion. You know what I mean? When it's like we were watching, and I swear we'll get back to it because I don't want to take it too much time. We were watching the David Brent. Is that the guy from the BBC Office? Ricky Gervais. His solo movie. And it's intolerable because I don't have any of the other characters to like balance it off of. Like I can't stand straight cringe. But no, but this was like not enjoyable, but like I can empathize with her. Like how would I feel in this situation? And this is where we get to the point in the episode where we get to the name of the episode, a little segment that you like to do in Night's Watch all the time.
Yes.
The Bone Orchard also means a graveyard. So we see Shadow saying his goodbyes to Laura, and the way, again, I'm going to praise its music, but the way he was delivering the lines to the music, it almost sang like it sounded like a song, and I paused it and I was like, this is pretty, like this is really nice. And yeah, and then we find out that Audrey pissed on Robbie's grave and wants to take things further, and she says a line which at that point I'm like, she's like, oh my god, I didn't know I could be so angry. And I was like, oh my god, I didn't know anyone could be so angry. So that was interesting. But we also see
I was wondering what she was doing when she came from the back, like pulling up her pants. I'm like, did she just do some guy in the back? Like, what the hell was she doing? And then I realized that's what she did. And when she said what she did was like, then I got it.
But but we also see Shadow take the coin that he won in the fight and put it on Laura's grave,
which sunk into the grave.
And it sunk into the grave. It's loose soil.
Yeah.
So Shadow walks back from the funeral, and he's attracted by like these weird lights off to the side of the road, and like a virtual boy is into his face,
like Oculus Rift or PlayStation VR.
He gets Oculus ripped out of, put into some weird like simulation of it's like a limousine, but it's like it only looks like a tube, and we meet Technical Boy, who is a bit different. Obviously, they again technology. They're gonna have to make some changes. And when this book was written, Technical Boy was like a fat, like basement dweller
Mhm.
who like dressed like Neo from the Matrix. So they definitely changed his look up. And Kimber actually has some interesting theories when we talk more about Technical Boy. Um, but I really liked this scene. What did you think about like the weird visualizations and stuff?
Yeah, I felt like I was in a like I play virtual reality myself, so I felt like I was like in a virtual world. Like if I was in Shadow's perspective, all that stuff going on with those like faceless people coming are like just like avatars coming in, and him being able to control them and fight, um, like Shadow and grab him. Like it was just mind blowing. I thought it was really cool. Like I saw myself in that position, like in like a virtual world.
All right, so
So what
we've
was he trying to get? He was trying to get him to not work for Mr. Wednesday anymore. Where he wanted to,
right.
or at
He
least spy
wanted
on him, be like a double agent.
he just want no he just wanted to know what Wednesday was up to.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's really all he cared about. But Shadow doesn't know, and it looks like if he did know, he wouldn't tell him. And we get to this scene where the children, the technology boys, like lackeys, are like beating the crap out of him and end up lynching him essentially until he's saved at the last moment by a mysterious figure.
Which we don't see. It's off camera.
Yes, mysterious, but obviously can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode.
So it's kind of like youth versus age, right? Because like the kids nowadays are all about technology and stuff like that, whereas an older generation is more about faith and how they're because I'm assuming technology boy or kid, whatever his name is, kind of an adversary to Mr. Wednesday.
Well, he like you said, he says he's so old. You know what I mean? Like there's obviously some animosity there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the very least, they've met. You know what I mean? Because they're aware of each other. And I mean, what are the odds that Technology Boy just ran into him on a Wednesday and he was like, "Oh, it's my day. Call me
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday." So they obviously know who each other are. Um, I just sent Candace an invite so we can talk about Bill Quiz quick. We can't dedicate a lot of time to each person calling in, but we'll try to get a few people in here. I know Kimber wants to talk about Technical Boy. And if anybody wants to talk about Sweeney or Wednesday, let me know and we'll try to squeeze you in. But we're definitely going to get Candace and Kimber in here. I might even call them both at the same time. They like each other, so why not? This way we're not super
So
crowded.
basically, the episode ends with all that bloodshed, Shadow falling from the tree and realizing he's been saved by something, but we don't know what.
We don't know.
Is that
And
how
Kimber,
accurate is that to the book?
that's about where it's at. I mean, I'm sure Candace will tell me what I'm not remembering, but I feel like that's about right.
And Eric wants to call in too, by the way.
Okay.
Hey, Kimber.
Hi, Kimber.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going?
Good. While we were waiting for Candace, did you want to know the results from that poll?
Yeah, sure. And why don't you like say exactly what the choices were this way?
Sure. I asked out of the listed characters, what was everybody's favorite from the first episode of American Gods? And so I listed Shadow Moon, Mr. Wednesday, Mad Sweeney, and Bilquis were the choices. And in fourth place, we had my favorite, Mad Sweeney, with a measly 7%. Next up, we had Shadow Moon with 11%. And then Bilquis with 29%. I'm excited she got that much because she's super cool. And then Wednesday won the poll with 54%.
That's crazy. The polls was like glowing everywhere today since we put it up,
Yeah.
so that's interesting. I'm gonna, you know what? Let's just throw Eric in here too, and then we can all have a civil discussion together. So while we have you on the horn, Kimber, do you want to tell us what you thought about Technical Boy since we just talked about him?
Yeah, there was a couple things. First of all, I really liked the like biomechanical style robotic face hugger. I thought that was
So
cool.
while we have you on the horn, Kimber, do you want to tell
Oh,
us
and
thought about Technical Boy since we just talked about him?
Yeah, there was a couple things. First of
can,
all,
can you mute your YouTube, Candace?
YouTube video.
got it.
Hi, Eric. Hello, everyone. So, real quick, we'll do the rounds. Everyone watching this, we have with us Kimber, who you may recognize from other Odd-Shaped Adventures. Eric Monroe, another friend of the show.
What's up?
And one of my favorite contenders for an upcoming fight, Candace.
Hi.
So Kimber was just telling us her thoughts on Technical Boy. I figured we'd each go like take a round and address a character to tie up the episode. And so she's gonna finish her thought. I think you left off with like weird face hugger.
Yeah, the face hugger was cool,
Machine.
and I thought that was like obviously a reference to face huggers. And I also loved the Clockwork Orange dudes, who were definitely Clockwork Orange dudes. His children, I think he called them. Not only were they wearing like full-blown like codpiece suspender outfits, the pattern on their clothes was almost reminiscent. I was showing Tom a picture earlier, but there's this really cool geometric blanket on Alex DeLarge's bed in his room, and the pattern kind of reminded me of that too. So it was like a double shout out to A Clockwork Orange, and I thought it was just super cool, and I dug it a lot. So that was my thoughts.
Nice. Thoughts?
On Tactical Boy specifically?
Well, I mean, we just, I mean, whatever you want. I respect your opinion.
I think for me, like, I'm gonna say this for anybody who so far is maybe on the other side of the fence or in the middle of the road. For me, I like the show a lot. I think it's great. But it is not like I wish that I hadn't started reading the book before watching the show. Because it's so fresh in my mind, I don't have that beautiful like fan-based ability to just kind of gloss over things. Like when I went to go see Harry Potter, like I wouldn't reread the books and then go see the movie to compare and contrast. I kind of just went in being a Harry Potter fan, which I think made things a lot better. You know, it's a lot easier on you. Like you make it a lot easier on yourself when you don't know too much. Because like, you know, the whole time you're like, oh, well, that's not this and that's not what I see and whatever. But I think that my least favorite person on the show right now is Shadow. I saw him as being biracial, but like maybe like half black, half Native American, you know, on one side and like white on the other side or something like that. I see him as being kind of a mutt. And I like you mentioned, I see him as being a lot quieter. But I think the book in general is like this is not a retelling. Like Scott Pilgrim is like a retelling of Scott Pilgrim, but this is a version. And I think once I realized that this is a version, it made a lot more sense to me. I was like, oh, like now I can get it. But before, I think that was something like when I first started watching it, the first time I watched it twice. That was a big problem for me, that like it wasn't like I couldn't understand it not being a retelling. And I see it as somewhat gritty. I see it as kind of like this kind of dusty, like really, I don't know, like it's not as flashy and as shiny as it is on the screen in my head.
I know when you were describing it to me, like the way you read it, it felt like an American Gothic, which
Yes.
is not the tone of the show.
Yes.
But I think, and I agree with you. That's the way some of it is read to me. I think because it's so flashy, I feel like it's like a celebration of something I love so much, and maybe that's
course.
why it's kind of like I'm seeing it through like rose tainted glasses. But
They're doing a great job. I mean, like it's not an easy book to adapt. And after watching it the first time, I paged through the previous chapters just to kind of like refamiliarize myself with everything. And some of the stories are told better via them. Like Bilquis's story, hands down, I think is better in the television show. I feel like, you know, like you and I were talking, I feel like if you're going to worship, like if for a goddess, especially an old school goddess, to feel worship, she can take donations, but like she wouldn't be a hooker to me, because a hooker like is trading sex for money, and this person is trading sex for like mutual pleasure. You know what I mean? Like the currency is just different for her. So like I like what they did with Bilquis, but at the same time, as awesome as the Viking story is, it's not as cool as the one in the book, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's in the book, it's a little bit more meaningful. And I think that's also why I didn't catch the humor as well, because I think that they're just kind of going for a different spin, and it's one I'm down for, but it took me by surprise. Like I was kind of jarred a little bit by it because it's so fresh.
Yeah, especially when they advertise. Like I had two problems with the actual, like when they advertised it as saying that like book lovers are gonna love it.
Yeah.
Because it's so like faithful, and then you give us something that's like an interpretation, which is fine, but don't tell us you're giving us something that's completely faithful.
Yeah.
And a lot of their marketing gave stuff away that, like me and you were saying,
Yeah.
time in the book.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to concentrate too much on that, but I just wanted to talk about Bilquis, and she's based off of the Queen of Sheba, who is the wife of King Solomon.
Yes.
So, for anyone who doesn't know who Bilquis is based off of, that's what it is. It is not mentioned in the Bible once that she eats men.
No.
But, I mean, the Bible would probably say that they don't really like women, so.
True.
Well, speaking. Matt Sweeney. Eric, how'd you like him?
I thought he was really cool. He struck a chord with me. He's definitely a character I'm looking forward to seeing every single week. But the question I was going to ask you, Kansas, actually touched upon. It's for book readers. I have two options. Should I right now go on Amazon and order the book, or should I wait until the season is over and read it? And with what Kansas said, I'm kind of leaning towards waiting till the season ends.
I would recommend waiting. I would 110% recommend waiting. And the reason I say that, like, honestly, it's a fantastic book, and it deserves your undivided attention, and it will not have that if you're constantly comparing it to the show. Like, watch the show, give yourself a week, and then, like, bask in this whole other telling of the same thing you just watched, with maybe some spoilers for next season. Like, then, you know, with season 2, because I imagine this is going to be a mini series, right? They're trying to make this at least more than one season.
So this won't mean anything for anyone who's not a book reader. When Shadow meets up with the mountain, you know, where they go to the mountain in the books.
No.
Okay, Carousel.
Yes.
Is
that the mountain?
Yeah, that's about where they're aiming to end the season.
No, that part is so cool.
Well, I think on that part. So I think what they're doing is, like, that's a third of the book way through. So I think they're dividing the book into 3.
Yeah.
And then we'll be reading 3 seasons.
Awesome. So then next season, you can have the feelings that you feel that are pure and true about the first season of the show. And then you can go to the second season prepared and slightly less excited, but also still really excited, because as a standalone show, not factoring in the book, it's awesome.
See, that's what I did with Game of Thrones, where I just
Me too.
watched the first season, and then I'm like, wow, this show is awesome, so let me go back and read the books. That's why I read all the books in between the seasons. So I was ahead of the game, but I mean, I enjoyed I like how, like, Kenson having that fresh look at, like, being like the spectator never reading the book to, like, see how things are, and then you kind of put a face to everyone on the book.
Honestly, like, the plot development alone in the book, like, the pacing is very, very different than the show. And I think in the book, at least for me, like, the foreshadowing is something that you really have to know what you're doing to get. Like, the hints to who Mr. Wednesday actually is comes in the Viking scene. And the Viking scene, you don't even get that until after a scene that hasn't even happened yet in the show. It's going to happen on the next episode.
Wow.
So, like, they tell the tale kind of non-linearly, which is awesome. I mean, feel free. Like, it looks wonderful with the Coming to America stories each time. Like, I think that's absolutely brilliant doing that. I feel like it's as good as like when Zack Snyder like when he did the Watchmen, and he had like all of those like pre-tales of the Minutemen in the opening credit scene. Like I feel like it's almost like that, where it's like giving you what you want, but making you work for it a little bit, which I like. But I think that just like the way that you happen upon the information that gets you to understanding who each of these characters are, they have to be fast because it's a TV show, and you can tell that they kind of crank it out. Like in 3 sentences, Ian McShane gives away who he is, whereas it takes you like 100 pages almost to figure out who he is in the book.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it is foreshadowing, how much of it is him just hiding information in everyday conversation in the show. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Which is fine, because he said a line on the plane, and I just cracked up because I was like, ha, that's a joke that you know what I mean? So like I like that, but again, we don't have the benefit of having the long burn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right, well, we have a few minutes left. Corey's on with us. Corey, is there anything about the show you wanted to talk about? Oh, it doesn't appear your mic's on, Corey.
I can't hear him.
Corey?
All right, well, I'm sure Corey's going to just keep talking until we hear him, and we'll figure that out. Anything else that we missed, or?
I have a theory, and you probably will know the answer to this because you've read the books. You don't have to confirm it. The coin going into the dirt, could that potentially bring someone back to life? It had me thinking it.
All right. Cal, close your eyes and look away. And I will.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take it.
Can I look now?
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Okay. That was great.
I appreciate it. I don't like to know spoilers. So.
Eric, if you really want to know, watch the trailers for American Gods, and it's confirmed in the trailer.
Oh, okay, because I haven't seen the trailers.
I mean, I've seen her. I've seen her later in episodes. I just feel like maybe that could be a flashback or something. I don't know what it is, but I do see her in later episodes.
Interesting.
Whoa.
Whoa, I think Corey's making some kind of progress. I wish we had our own tech.
Oh my God.
Corey, hey.
It's the technical god. He's not liking our bullshit, and he's not pleased. So I guess we can round this off with I'm gonna keep watching. Is everyone else gonna keep watching?
Absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. 100% yes.
Corey, are you gonna keep watching? Thumbs up.
Yep.
Corey's gonna keep watching. All right. I want to make sure I got him in there somehow. All right. Well, I think we're gonna round this off. If no one else has anything else to say, I do want to talk real quick about Mad Sweeney. Is based on an old Irish war king who went crazy from the sound of war because he was cursed by Saint Ronan. I'm not gonna get too much into like his backstory, but he is a thing. He is not just a leprechaun. Give him some more credit.
Yeah, and wait, he's fucking awesome. And I didn't know Candace was saying that's Liev Schreiber's brother.
Yeah.
Mad
From
Sweeney?
Ray Donovan?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
his half brother. That's his little brother, Pablo.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
He's
Yeah.
so good. Props to that dude. I thought he was killing it in that episode. Like, I believed him during that fight. He had like this one sparkling tear in his eye, and it was captivating. I was totally into that shit. Right on.
He almost had like a War Boy Fury Road kind of like attitude to the whole thing. Like the beauty, like a sap in the spring.
Agree. My only critique of that scene, honestly, is Shadow's reaction to him. Like in the book, he's captivated, like we are. Like he's taken with his amazing tricks. But he plays it, like the actor decides to play it more like he's like scared a little bit, or like wary or cautious or something like that. And I thought it would have like really been a feather in Shadow's cap, because so far he hasn't really shown us like why he's such a badass. Like in the book, he's like this man of few words, and even when he does talk, like in my head, I imagine him as like this man with like a deep rumble. Like if like the way Vin Diesel talks in like the body of, I don't know, I've been trying to figure this out all day of like who I would have cast instead, and I have to get back to you guys on that one. But like he has this like rumble in my head, and he's a badass. Like there's a reason that Wednesday picks him, and I feel like it reveals itself kind of straightforwardly in the book, but in the show, I'm just like, you're not a badass, dude. Like you're afraid of this dude and his awesome baller coin tricks. Like, why do I trust you with my life? I don't know.
Yeah. I also kind of felt like that, like as the audience in that situation, where at a certain point you would just be kind of weirded out and be like, all right, like you're being weird, like back off a little. But I mean, I get what you're saying. I totally understand. But yeah, guys, that's the first episode of American Odds.
Yay!
Woo!
Yay!
That means
Love it.
that means it's possible to do a show under an hour on here.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Especially
So
because
I'd like to thank
someone
everyone
was on
for joining us. Does everyone want to take a round and tell everyone where they can find you or what you have coming up, if anything? Candace, you want to start?
Yeah. So, Candace McAfee signing off. You can find me on Twitter at @ThatCandaceGirl, and you will see me this Sunday at 12 p.m. on Fan Friction as part of the Tough Channel.
Yay!
Yes, one of 3 new contenders, and it should be a glorious fight. I hope that you feel the fucking glory of Fan Friction.
Me too. I hope I don't have any brain farts. Like, I'm studying diligently. Like, I've already turned in all my answers, and I turned in 3 answers of each because clearly I'm a Gryffindor. And I wanted to make sure that I had options. But I don't know which one won, so I can't study yet. Like a douchebag.
Candace will be the first fighter to use PowerPoint in her fight somehow.
If
Eric,
you don't mind, I made a diorama.
to Eric.
You can find me on Twitter at mmkoch. That's Koch, KOCH200, and me, Cal, and Delisa just did our second podcast of Aftermath, which is the wrestling show we do. And I recently appeared on our friend Morgan's Horror House podcast, talking all things 80s horror. Check it out. I had a blast.
Great. And yeah, definitely check all of those things out. Everyone's putting out some great content, and it's awesome. Speaking of that, great content, I guess I should segue over to the co-host and pretty much the main badass of the channel, Kimber Barrett. I'm motioning to her like she's on the couch, but she's not. It's fine.
Yes, you guys can find me on Twitter at Kimberbatch_OSP and on most of the Tough shows and or Odd Shaped Channel shows, Fan Friction, OSP, hopefully an upcoming similar to this Twin Peaks show. And I can't wait to watch Candace drink the blood of the innocent on Fan Friction this weekend. So definitely check that out. You'll see me tweeting about that for sure.
No one's innocent in Fan Friction.
Don't hype me up too much. I don't let anybody down.
Hype. I've been hyping
man,
you for
what's
like
up?
over a decade now. I'm not stopping at this point. Like,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, you can find me at Viren Jadeja Vu on Twitter. You can see me on Ache channel. I call Ache panel. I call a lot. I also did a new article for Ache Press on the recap of WWE pay-per-views. The first thing I did was Payback. Did a report card on it. Like Eric said, I do Aftermath with them, where we recap WWE pay-per-views. So we just had episode 2 last night. And also the Night's Watch that I do with Tom and Kimber. And we're going to start that soon in July about recapping Game of Thrones. So excited to see you guys all there. I'm also going to be rooting for Candace on Sunday. Unfortunately, I can't watch. I have softball, but I'll be rooting for you, and I'll probably catch the replay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can find all of that stuff on our new website, guys. We're official. You can see what we're up to at. I don't even have to say at because it's not a Twitter handle. Odd Shaped Panel. Nope, wrong. Odd Shaped Channel has what?
I typed an odd shaped panel. That's why I couldn't.
It's oddshapedchannel.com, and that has everything. That has our recent edits for Tough. That has our upcoming live streams. That has links to all of our guests' content. After the Mat, they were just talking about After the Mat. There's a current episode. Right, go to our website, and I'll link you right to it. Anybody who's been on our show will be able. You could see it there, and only watch us. We don't have enough content, but we're getting there. So you can also check out all of the articles that everybody is pumping out, and those are all linked over to our WordPress. But they are available on our archive on the website. Check it out. There's so much stuff, and I'm running out of time. So everyone, thank you so much. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time on American Odds.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Next live.
Make a poll for my
episode is-
name. Make a poll for my name. Nickname.
We'll make a poll for your name. Next live episode is next Monday, Q&A. Everyone's dropping out of the call. Bye.